Land Use and Develop, am I on? Yes, all right. I'm going to call the Land Use and Development Committee meeting to order. The first item on the agenda is consideration of the March 2020 minutes. Can I have a motion to approve? I have a motion by member Chung. Second by member Wachinski. Any discussion, corrections, additions to the minutes? All right, seeing none, please raise your hand indicating aye. Any nays? All right, passes. Second item on the agenda is recommendation concerning bills and transfers. I have a letter here dated May 1st from our auditor, Michelle Anderson, who has reviewed the bills and has approved them, and the bills are in the amount of $774.09. I have a motion to approve the bills. Motion by member Woolrab, a second by member Wachinski. Any discussion? All right, seeing none, if you're in favor, please indicate by raising your hand. Any opposed? All right, passes. All right. County Administrator Rodriguez, do we have any appearance by members of the public?
Chairman Erickson, yes, we do. And in consultation with our legal counsel, between the time that you and I spoke on the phone this afternoon and now, I've learned that it's actually 5 minutes per public speaker and not 3. So Julie Morlock is going to be at the podium here to read. I believe, ma'am, we have five public speakers that submitted a comment via email and followed all of the directives we placed in the agenda. I'm going to have the duty of timing Ms. Morlock, and I will say to any of the speakers who are listening via live stream and to the membership that even if Ms. Morlock cannot complete the entire comment within the 5 minutes, we will be placing the entirety of the comment in our minutes. So that's just to give, to set the table for what will happen next. So Chairman Erickson, may I turn this over to Ms. Morlock to begin?
Yes, please.
Okay, the first comment was submitted by Julie Hall Cotter. Dear McLean County Land Use Committee, I was hoping to be able to address this committee personally, since this is an issue that I am very passionate about and it touches me and many others on a very personal level. My husband and I live at 23571 North 2900 East Road, Lexington, Illinois 61753. As both of us had the privilege to grow up as farm kids, we purchased 5.5 acres here so that we, our kids, and our grandchildren could enjoy the farm life. We wanted to enjoy the peace, tranquility, serenity, and closeness to nature that only rural living can provide. We enjoy sunrise on one side of our home and can sit on the porch and enjoy the sunset on the other side. We chose to purchase rural property, not suburban, urban, or an industrial area. Now we will be looking in every direction and seeing a forest of wind turbines. Our lives as we have known it for 20 years have come to a complete end and will never be the same. This has been destroyed by McLean County allowing Invenergy to put up a wind farm, an industrial wind farm. Sadly, the worst part of all of this has yet to come. The construction work has just begun and our lives and that of our neighbors and many more rural lives have been turned upside down. The road that we live on, 2900 East, has been designated as the road to be used in accessing 13 turbines. The first thing to change was they're putting up signs indicating where overhead power lines are located. These signs are on the side of the road on our property. Now we can mow around them, except the road sides are such a total mess of mud, chunks of sod, gravel, and ruts that it is impossible to mow and maintain. The first item for their construction was to grind up our very nice blacktop road. When they did this, it pulverized the blacktop, turning it into dirt and dust. The first 2 days of this, I literally could not go outside my door without being blasted by dirt and dust. In just walking to my mailbox, I had dirt in my eyes and teeth. I called to ask about water trucks and was told that they would soon have gravel down and then there would be water trucks. Walking through the grass produces clouds of dust rising up around my feet. Next came the hundreds, yes, hundreds of loads of gravel passing the house. After making several phone calls concerning the dust and the speed that the trucks were traveling, we do now have fairly consistent water trucks. They are only watering right in front of our homes though, not the entire road. And as anyone who has traveled a gravel road would know, dust travels. We were told that in a few days, there would be a speed limit sign indicating a speed limit of 25 miles an hour. Those have yet to arrive. In calling White Construction and Charles with Invenergy numerous times, the gravel trucks are now traveling at the 25-mile-an-hour speed. There are, however, many different companies with many different products, and a lot of them show absolutely no respect and fly past. It has become a daily chore to police these trucks and make phone calls to get them slowed down. As soon as the road was graveled, the other things began. Things like a vibrating roller. For 2 days, until I was literally in tears, my house was vibrating and I had to listen to the constant low hum produced by the roller. There are 2 access roads extremely close to my property line and house, which is causing us considerable distress. There is constant traffic of semis, numerous different pieces of construction equipment, and the constant noise of backup beepers. They went along the sides of the roads with some type of disc which made large chunks of sod and dirt. Now when trucks meet each other on the road, they get over into that area, creating ruts and mud, which then splatters the entire road. There are days that I'm not even able to drive my car, which sits low to the ground on the road. I am very thankful that I have a pickup truck. Another obvious effect is the fact that keeping a vehicle clean is totally impossible. My neighbors, Lance and Laura Slater, have approached Invenergy to see about getting reimbursement for washing our vehicles. They have not heard back on that. We will soon have their shadows trespassing over our property, have the flicker inside our homes on our walls, have to listen to the constant hum of the generators and the sound produced by the wings, and our landscape forever ruined. This is all not to mention the damage done to the birds, bats, and other species. My hope is to bring awareness of the true destruction of land, roads, and the worst of it, lives that have been brought on by these wind farms. The gain of a few, by which I mean the farmers profiting from the turbines, is destroying the lives of many. It is proven that turbines are not an efficient means of producing energy, nor are they green, as they purport. Those of us living in their footprint are being forced to live with all of the negatives that they bring. Throughout this entire process, that's only 3 more sentences, you okay? Please. Throughout this entire process, there has been and still is total disregard for humanity. All that seems to matter is money. We feel disregarded. My hope is that this may be some of you can come out and travel our road and see for yourself, and I would appreciate your consideration of the other items I have mentioned. I appreciate the time you have given me to address you in consideration or your suggestions that you may have in the future. Respectfully, Ms. Cotter, Julie Cotter. The next one was submitted by Lance Slater, or Sleater, I'm hoping I'm saying that right, S-L-E-E-T-E-R. They have sent me the text of a text message that he sent to Charles Swanley of Invenergy. Charles, this is Lance Slater. I live on 2900 East Road. Since the recent road destruction in front of our house, we have had some issues. The first is that our cars are constantly dirty. I would like some compensation for washing them on a regular basis. Also, we have a mud hole in front of our mailbox that used to be pavement and grass. I would like some gravel to put there to keep our vehicles clean when I get the mail every day. Also, large clumps of mud are left there along our east ditch, making it impossible to mow without damaging my equipment. Please respond with some solutions to these issues. Again, that was by Lance Slater or Slater. The next one that was submitted was by Miss Lori Slater or Slater. And I hope you all received an email from me where she also submitted some photos to go along with this. So, and the reason I did that is because she actually refers to those in this. So thank you. Land Use Committee members and staff. I would like to address the Invenergy Industrial Project, which is using our road 2900 East in Lexington Township, for a main route. We were under the impression the construction route would be south of our home from 2250 East, going 1 mile north to the dirt road only. leaving the road from our house to County Route 8 unused. Boy, were we misinformed. I have taken several photos of the roads in the construction area and on my road as a newspaper editor of both Lexington and Chenoa. A lot of the gravel roads I have driven on are narrow, remote, no homes, or maybe one, and many have 8-inch dangerous ledge. Have the 8-inch dangerous ledge. I have found that most, if not all of the roads are in much better shape than ours. Our road seems to have the most houses, 4 in the project areas. Our road also leads to 4 residences south of us. Why would our road be used? Many of our neighbors, and we're talking half a mile to 2 miles, have not had these issues and are not affected at all. Lucky them. Our road has been 1, torn up, 2, graveled, see photo, and beaten down, see photo, 3, widened to the west, see photo, 2 feet, 4, widened to the east, 4 feet. This is the land we've mowed for over 30 years. This was by far the most disruptive and on our side. The sod was chiseled. There is no way we will be able to mow our ditches, and no information given on if, and I'm going to apologize, BENIACH will repair. Our 2900 East Road is muddy on the sides, has potholes, and is just a mess. There are no speed limit signs that I can see posted on our road. There's one 25-mile-an-hour on gravel sign on the paved road, County Route 8, around the corner to the north. That road has a speed limit of 45 miles an hour. Not sure why the 25-mile-an-hour is posted there. My neighbor was told speed limit signs would be posted a few weeks ago. I continually see drivers surpassing the speed limit. Pickup truck drivers don't seem to know they are under the same speed limit of 25 miles an hour. Charles Swanley has been helpful slowing these drivers down when I call him. It's a curiosity to see the trucks slow down in front of my house. Many times a pickup truck is there to tell them that's where they should slow down. I believe companies working in the project area should be required to communicate with residents about what's going to happen and when on a continuing basis. It shouldn't have to be my job as a taxpayer to find information online, and how would we even know where to look? This company is notorious for keeping us residents out of the loop. I've reported last fall Invenergy held a turbine update chicken dinner to all of the landowners without informing the residents in the project area one iota of information. My concern is how current problems aren't being addressed, and the issues yet to come will be quite larger. No internet, phone, satellite service, and the biggest concern, shadow flicker. Shadow flicker on our property is, I believe, called trespassing. I am concerned we will have a much greater total of the permissible 30 hours per year than what we do. Then what will we do? I have found that the EDPR project in Chenoa did not place turbines directly to the west, like this Invenergy project has. The EDPR rural residents I found with Flickr owns the turbines. To me, this shows great disrespect for rural residents. Invenergy knows exactly when, where, and for how long the shadow will be trespassing on our property. I am dreading sunsets, seeing the blades flick through the beautiful sunsets of our farm used to have. This is the most sickening of all. The list of issues and questions I sent to Mr. Dick and Mr. Erickson about car washes, etc., have been unanswered. I still have many, many questions about who to talk to and how to resolve current and incoming issues. Please protect the residents and taxpayers of Lexington, Lawndale, Yates, Chenoa, Gridley Townships during this unpleasant industrial project which has been forced on us. 1, we need laws or rules requiring information provided before the project starts and on an ongoing basis. 2, we need a middleman who can resolve issues in a timely manner, not as them doing us a favor, but rules and laws requiring resolutions. And we will not sign any contract with Invenergy, nor should be required to do so. 3, we need to feel we have some control over what happens to our roads and our land. We've been paying taxes for over 30 years. We take good care of the countryside and have pride in its appearance. We mow, we pick up trash, we drive on these roads daily. Thank you for listening to my concerns. Lori Steer.
Just on time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next one is submitted by a Lindsay Bachman. Hello, my name is Lindsay Bachman and my family lives at 23479 East, 2700 North Road in Lexington. Our stretch of 2700 North between 2350 East and 2225 East was torn up for windmill construction on Monday, April 20th, with new gravel being spread that Thursday, April 23rd. This has given me 2 weeks to observe Invenergy's practices, and it brings to light some concerns for what this summer brings. Please note, I have not yet submitted any formal complaints, and if my correspondence should be better directed to someone else, please send me that contact information. First of all, I want to make known that I have not seen a water truck pass our house since early last week, the week of April 27th. I understand that we had a stretch of wet weather in which extra water was not necessary. However, Saturday, May 2nd was dry and significantly warmer with consistent semi-traffic hauling gravel in front of our home, and the dust was awful. On days when construction traffic is constant in front of a home, it is fair to expect water trucks to also be present, regardless of the day of the week. I hope it goes without saying that as we get more warm days, the need for water on our gravel roads will also greatly increase. I have 2 children, ages 4 and 14 months. My youngest has chronic respiratory complications that require us to administer oxygen at home and have also required lengthy hospital stays in the last 6 months. Dust, even small amounts, will be more than just an inconvenience for her. It will be a matter of her health. I understand that living rurally comes with some tolerance of dust, but what I'm referring to is easily preventable. I will not force her to be inside all summer to keep her away from construction dust, and I am prepared to submit written documentation from her pulmonologist should the need arise. I would also like to address speeds. It is my understanding that construction traffic is to be kept at 25 miles an hour. For the most part, I have seen cooperation with that from Invenergy and anyone associated with them. My concern is for the general public traffic on this road. If you are unfamiliar with this stretch of 2700 North, it is a heavily traveled, convenient route between Lexington and Gridley. Not only is there more traffic than a typical rural road, it tends to be at a higher rate of speed. I have witnessed some unnerving speeds from drivers that are absolutely inappropriate for a gravel road. The north side of our home, which includes bedrooms, sits less than 50 feet off of 2700 North. So, as you can imagine, this is a legitimate accident concern. I understand that the strict speed limits are only in place for construction traffic, but can anything be done for public use of the road? Signage, speed humps. I would be happy to allow a sign in my yard for this purpose. I appreciate you taking the time to read my concerns. Please know that my main objective is not to complain, but to keep my children and my home safe, which I know any of you would expect as well. I know that the ability exists for everyone to live and use our roads in a way that is safe and realistic for all sides of the equation. I'm happy to participate in any conversation to be had about how we can achieve this balance. Thank you for your time, Lindsay Bachman. And the last one that I have is from a Mr. Jeff Powell. I feel like I could go on and on about these projects and how they have affected those of us that live out here, but I will try to keep it short. Dealing with the construction process has been extremely stressful for my family. Workers driving too fast on unsafe roads is now the daily norm, costing us a windshield in my wife's car. I have witnessed workers blow through stop signs regularly and even blindly when the corn is up. Dangerous intersections where people live and children play in their yards. I have complained countless times to Wind Company, but feel like it falls on deaf ears every time. The people who you complain to are not from here, as are most of the workers out here. Just here for a paycheck temporarily, then on to the next project. Our complaints are nothing more than a nuisance to them. I have just continued to lose faith in our county government as well. Watching this project forced on us from votes outside the district. Complaints to the sheriff's department falls on deaf ears as well. False promises made of having intersections patrolled or radar signs put up. I feel there is nowhere to truly go with complaints. There is no accountability seen anywhere out here with these projects. I have heard countless stories of protocols not being followed during the construction process. I feel like the wind companies and their countless subcontractors have free rein out here. Truck drivers don't even stay on the designated roads and take alternate routes regularly because they know they can get away with it. I know there's not much I can do about it. At the end of the day, it's it just has me really questioning to continue living in McLean County. It's where I lived and worked my entire life, but I'm not sure about raising my family here anymore. Uncertain about my real estate investment more and more. A constant reminder out my window, noise like no other when I'm in my yard trying to enjoy nature. There are times in certain conditions where they are so loud, I highly doubt they are staying under the noise limitations they said they would be. But hey, who's holding them accountable to that? I hope this short letter of experiences helps those of you who do care about those affected very negatively by these projects. Jeff Powell. And that's the last one I have.
That concludes it, Chairman Erickson.
I do want to just say that I did ask the chairman of the McLean County Board, John McIntyre, and I'll try to get him on here, I guess, under other items of information, but there was the issue raised that these issues haven't been addressed. I wanted John to specifically come and speak to that and what he's been doing in regards to address some of those issues. And I know Member Metzger's been working with him on that as well. So I'm going to try to get that in at the end. So I want everybody to know that. Anyway, with that said, first item on the agenda is item 5A, request by Brent and Kelly Hollivet, if I'm pronouncing that right, for a waiver of preliminary plan requirements and approval of a 2-lot subdivision final plat for the Hollivet subdivision, which is a re-subdivision of lots 4 and 5 in Knob Hill Acres PUD. Phil, would you like to start out the discussion?
Yes, I would like to add that I just received a call from Brian Holovet, and he informed me that his spouse Kelly had a cardiac arrest today and has passed away. So that's a good enough reason not to be here. And I'm very sorry for their loss. To begin with, I'd just like to point out that there's a plat map that I sent with the packet that shows where this property is located north of Hayworth. And there is an aerial photo that I attached that shows outlined in red the 2 lots of this property and where the house is located and the vacant lot to the east. And then there's a plat of the proposed subdivision that I have also attached that shows how the new lot 4A will be situated, and it shows this easement for the septic system that is required to be put on there, and that's why they had to go through this process in order to create an easement for that subdivision. The staff report is basically addressing the fact that the county health department supports this application. The township road commissioner has signed off on it, and the basic purpose of it is to create an easement for an area for a private wastewater disposal system to be located. And we recommend approval of this 2-lot subdivision final plat.
Phil, can I have a motion to approve? Motion by Member Chung, second by Member Went. Questions and discussion? Any questions? Any discussion? All right, seeing nobody raising their hand, we'll go ahead and vote. We're voting on item for action 5A. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed? All right, seeing none, that passes. The next item, Phil, did you want to tell them what the next step in the process is? You usually do when we're at the meetings.
Yes, this will go to the county board on the consent agenda unless somebody on the county board decides to pull it off the consent agenda. And there's the ordinance that goes with it will be on the consent agenda as well. And if approved by the county board, it will then be recorded. And after it's recorded, then the lots can be conveyed separately.
Thank you, Phil. Next item on the agenda is item 6A, items for information. It's an update on collapsed building located at 105 Bell Prairie Street in the unincorporated village of Cropsey. Phil, do you want to start that out?
Yes, I attached a photo of the property. I spoke with Steve Cortland, who's the owner of that property, on April 7th to get an update on what was going on there. And he told me that he had hired somebody to begin work on cleaning up the project, and that the wall had been, then I called him back again on 4/27, and he told me that his contractor had torn the wall down. And I attached a photo to this report that shows how the wall is removed. And he said that the guy who was doing the work, his machine broke down, so he had to stop. The property hasn't been cleaned up very much, but at least the wall is down. And I will keep on Mr. Cortland to keep begin hauling this stuff away. But at least the dangerous hazard with the wall is down, as you can see in that photo.
Any member of the Land Use Committee have any questions? Anybody not on the Land Use Committee, Member Thompson or Member Metzger? Member Metzger?
So I don't see any tape, anything that would indicate that, I mean, I think I'm glad the wall is down. No question, it's better than it was. So, you know, some progress is better than none. That's certainly correct. But this is still a concern from a safety perspective. Children can be in there, and so there is nothing at all, no signs, no nothing. I would think that, don't we have some requirement that if there's a piece of property that's dangerous, that they have to have something that would indicate no trespassing? I don't know. It just seems strange that we wouldn't be requiring them to have something to encourage people to stay away.
Go ahead, Phil.
We have nothing in our requirements that says they have to do that. Mr. Cortland isn't particularly cooperative with us, and I am of the opinion that he could put up a fence. And if you would suggest that I do so, I will tell him that he needs to fence up the property to provide safety to the area.
Member Metzger, did you?
Mr.
Is that the normal expectation when this stuff is going on? I mean, if a fence is not something we would normally expect, we couldn't ask him to do that. But if that is the normal expectation, then I think we need to certainly ask him or advise him that that is the appropriate safety measures that are required. But again, I don't know if we may not, you've indicated we don't have any ordinance or that would require that. So it would be a request, I guess. Is that what you're telling us?
Mr. Chairman,
I see you, George. Do you want to go ahead? Phil, did you want to answer her question first, or?
well, but
All right, Member
Mr.
Platt?
Chairman, isn't there attractive nuisance law? I think we used that one time out in the my thing to get a fence around a swimming pool or something, but there's that attractive nuisance that you've got to take care of, and that usually, I think, involves like getting a fence around something like that.
He's been told to clean up the property because it's a nuisance, and that's where we are with it. And to begin with, we wanted to make sure that wall got knocked down because we were concerned that it was going to do damage to the building next door or to land on someone. he is relatively uncooperative, and I would make a request that he puts a fence around it if that's what you think is needed next. It's my opinion that what we need to push him on is to start hauling that stuff away. And I have already cautioned him that if someone gets hurt there, he's got liability. So if you think we need to have him fence it up, we have not in the past forced people to put up a fence. With regard to fences around pools, state law does not require that we make people do that. We thought that they had a law like that that went to the assembly, but it didn't get approved. So we can't require even fences to be put around pools.
Okay. Well, hey, Phil, maybe by pushing him about putting a fence up, maybe he'll get the stuff hauled away.
Part of his problem too is he's got piles of brick and debris on the other side of his alley there next to his house too. So that isn't as much of a dangerous issue. And I'm not certain that the site where, I think he should be cautioned again that he's got liability if somebody gets hurt there. But he is relatively uncooperative. But I think that if I keep pushing him, he will get that place cleaned up.
Oh, sorry, Jacob. I'm sorry. I didn't have my mic.
No, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Phil, for the update. I would agree with that. The idea continue to push him to move in this direction. I felt our discussion 2 months ago about next steps. I think we were in consensus with that as a committee. So continue to communicate with him and push him in this direction. One of my questions I did have is, I don't think the photo showed this, but I believe you mentioned there is a basement. This building had a basement. So an overhead photo may show, is there a 10-foot pit now that, just in terms of thinking about a fence idea, if there was, if this ends up being just a drop from the liability perspective, that may be like, hey guy, you can put up a $200 fence, chain link fence around this, or you're going to have an open pit that if a kid falls in, you're going to have an issue.
There really isn't an open pit, but there are things that a person could get bruised on or cut by or broken bones or whatever. It's a crude site, but it isn't really an open pit.
Member Woolrab?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You could start with the fence and maybe be interested to see what other members think. Maybe we just put he put some warning tape around there, if we can't get him to agree to a fence, anything. I don't know if that would be helpful for his liability, but it might keep people away.
Member Beard, did you have something else you wanted to add? I thought maybe, okay.
Oh, no, let's keep him moving in this direction. And I don't, fence or no fence versus, how cleaned up he gets it. I would encourage Mr. Dick to keep pushing him in this direction. I think it's better than it was. And hopefully in the next couple of months, we can get it to where it needs to be. And again, going back to our conversation in the fall, in some sense, if he's uncooperative, we potentially don't have a lot of leverage without spending a lot of money ourselves. So him moving in the right direction is beneficial, I think.
Any other members of the Land Use Committee want to address the subject? Member Metzger, did you? Catherine, you're not on, I don't think. I don't think your mic's on.
I am so sorry. I know Mr. Byer, who is the supervisor of Cropsey Township addressed the committee probably 2 months ago. Have we been in any contact with him? What is their point of view on what's going on, or have they not been in communication with us at all?
I haven't spoken to him since early March, but not since the wall has come down have I spoken to him.
Any other member have any other questions? All right, I think, Phil, you hear the consensus, just keep pushing them along to the extent we can push them along, and if you won't move, I guess get a fence up there, so. All right. The next item on the agenda is 6B. Process for submitting a text amendment to the Zoning Board of Appeals. Most of the members will know what I'm talking about when I'm referencing this. Member Woolrab and I have been working on this in consultation with Jessica Woods, our attorney, to see if there's a proposal to have a text amendment added. And I put it on here as an item for information because I wanted to see if the members had any thoughts about this or any additions or corrections. So I'm first going to start out by saying a month or so ago, we amended the zoning ordinance to say amendments may be proposed by the county board, the Land Use and Development Committee of the County Board, Regional Planning Commission, Zoning Board of Appeals, any property owner, or a person or organization with a property interest in the subject property. My understanding, Jessica, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, those would be the people that could make an application under this, because we are talking about a text amendment. And Lori and I had discussed, or Member Woolrab and I had discussed trying to bring the Land Use and Development Committee into this process. Now, my recollection of what Jessica told me was that we cannot make any applicant at all come to the Land Use Committee first. We don't have that authority. Now, Jessica, if I'm wrong about that, you can correct me on that. I believe that's what you told me. And if my recollection is wrong, please let me know. But we had wanted to put in a proposal in here that they could come to the county board for advice and recommendations. And so I just had written up some language. I don't pretend that this is the language, but I said any applicant may first submit a proposed text amendment to the Land Use and Development Committee of the County Board for advice and recommendations prior to submission to the Zoning Board of Appeals. Is that how you recall we ended up, Jessica? And that, is my recollection correct?
Yes, you're correct, Chuck. My concerns with back to something you mentioned a minute ago, that you can't require any applicants to come to the Land Use Committee first, is because the statute is very broad. It actually doesn't limit who can bring any text amendments to the Zoning Board of Appeals. Now, we limit it somewhat, although our list is extremely expansive as well. A county board, land use, any property owner, any interested party. And so it's pretty broad. If we limit it even more of only those people who have gotten approval by the Land Use Committee, I think that would be in violation of the statute. And so I would strongly advise against that. Your language, though, of adding to the text a suggestion that an applicant could come to the Land Use Committee for advice or recommendations prior to submitting it is fine from a legal standpoint because it's only a suggestion, it's not a requirement.
Thank you, Jessica. Member Woolrab, do you want to add to our discussion about what we were discussing about having this added on there? Did you have anything you wanted to add?
Not really. I think you and Jessica both represented what we had talked about quite well. I think I think part of our conversation was that we believe that people or entities could benefit from hearing from us first before proceeding to the Zoning Board of Appeals on this, because we are ultimately going to be, they're ultimately going to be bringing this back to the county board. So it's good to have all these elected members weighing in on it prior to them finalizing anything through the ZBA.
Lori, does any member have any comments on what we're proposing to do, or? Because I think the idea would be we'd send it back to the administration and have them come up with probably better language than what I have submitted so far, but something to that effect. And then we'd bring it back next month as an item for action. So does any member have any comments about that or any objections to doing that? All right, well, I don't see any. I mean, I guess we'd ask administration and legal to come up with some language for that and submit it to us as an item for action next month if we could. So, does that work, Camille?
That works.
Okay. All right, the next item on the agenda, well, I want to get Chairman McIntyre in here. I did ask Chairman McIntyre to speak to the committee today. The reason I did is because of those 5 emails that we had up at the front of the meeting. And I know that he has been addressing the issue, and I wanted you to hear from him as to what efforts the county has been making in regards to this. So I'm going to turn it over to Chairman McIntyre.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good evening, everyone. First of all, I think on behalf of the county, we should express our deepest sympathy, I'm sorry, to Mr. Holliday. It's a terrible thing that just happened for him. So our prayers are with him. As far as the wind farm situation goes, back about the end of March, I believe it was, Member Metzger, the issue came up about the wind farms situation, and there was a meeting to discuss problems with the dust on the roads. If you're not familiar, this is approximately 5 miles east and northeast and straight north of Lexington. We had a meeting in which they allowed me to come in on a phone conference with Ms. Metzger, Jerry Stokes, Luke O'Luland, Chris Podringer, who is the project manager for Invenergy, and Chris Shawley, who works as the contract supervisor, who is from Alaska, who works in contracting and building for Invenergy. The basic bottom line is that there is dust on the roads that they couldn't control. As you've heard previously, and if you've seen in front of you, you have a list of complaints that has happened out there. I went out there probably within a few days after our phone conference. During the phone conference, after I listened to him, I expressed to Mr. Podringer and Mr. Shawley that there seemed to be some kind of a disconnect or misunderstanding between Invenergy and the contractors, because Invenergy represented to us that they would be good partners in construction, and it just wasn't seeming to get done out there. You have a list of complaints in front of you. I went out to take a look at the situation the first time. Roads 2900 East, which was a subject of contention because the Invenergy contractors moved the road that originally was agreed that they thought they would use, which was 3000 East. They moved it 1 mile back to the west. It was a better road for construction. That went by about 5 residences, and then 5 more on 2250. They did have the right to do that with their contract, according to their road agreement with the township. But in the road agreement for the township, it also talks about health, safety, and welfare of the public. And so you've heard some complaints, and we've encouraged communication, Mr. Dick has, with the residents out there. it should be pointed out that the residents out there are mostly owning residential properties. They are not farmland owners. And the farmland owners are, in most cases, 90% of them are absentee owners. And so there is a difference in whether or not you're living out there and you have a residency or not. And so I wanted to point that out because it is a factor. The bottom line is that it was recommended that they add more water trucks onto the road properties, which Invenergy said that they would do. Jerry Stokes and Mr. Dick have been constantly going out there and monitoring this situation. About the middle of April, I went back for a second time. There was some improvement on Road 2900 East on dust, but Road 2250 North and 2350 North was still really pretty bad. And when we're talking dust, and I do have some video I could share with you individually that I took today, it is a problem. Not only does some of the construction traffic travel pretty rapidly, there is a lot of traffic. And so the vision for passing vehicles on some roads that are barely 2-lane roads becomes a somewhat of an issue. Today I went out again. In fact, I just got back in from there an hour ago. It was my third visit. Also today, I spent time visiting with Mr. Dick, who gave me a summary and caught up what we've been doing this last month and a half, the same as you have. I only saw one water truck parked on 2700 North. I saw evidence of probably the same thing that is in your report of some of the complaints about watering right in front of some of the farmsteads, but nothing else. I have talked with Mr. Stokes about this again. They were trying to come up with a solution. They have talked with Mr. Jolly about this for the construction area. Hopefully next week, there is a substance called soil tack, which has a oily or kind of a tack substance to it, which will hopefully hold down the dust. And now the company has told Mr. Stokes that they will try to spread that, and hopefully that will help remedy this situation. Bottom line is, as I see it, is a little bit about money. Obviously, the contractors didn't want to run water trucks on weekends. Obviously, overtime pay. I haven't seen evidence of extra trucks there. That was promised to be added. I don't think Mr. Stokes and Mr. Dick have as well. Is my opinion that we watch this situation, continue to monitor it, and if by the end of the month there isn't something done to correct it, that I will contact all of you on the committee, also the sheriff and the state's attorney, and see if we can't come up with a solution to this problem. We want to become, this should be a good partnership. It should not be the problem that it's become. It is a large economic development for our county. We have to keep that in mind. But also there needs to be a two-way street and a partnership conducted with what's going on there. So as my suggestion to you, with your support, that we monitor the situation until May 30th. If we don't see any remedy at that point in time, then we contact the corporate office in Chicago. I'm not crazy about going to Chicago right now, but I will if I have to, and talk to the vice president up there about this situation and see if we can't get their attention and get a little better cooperation than we've had. I know that Mr. Stokes and Mr. Dick have done everything that they possibly can within their authority for this situation at the current time. It may come to the next level, which will come back to you and see what has to be done. I want to dispel one rumor too. There is a road that is shut down farther north in another wind farm area north in the Chenoa Township. That is not shut down because of the township commissioner's battle with the windmill construction people. It's because there is a bridge now that is showing signs of stress because of all the trucks with all the weight going over those. And so they have closed off that road and rerouted that. So if you hear about that, that's a totally different situation. It is an operation type situation. That's about all I have at this time. I will say this though, as far as what I see as a real problem, it could be, and we want to point this out to the company and the contractors as a liability. There's very possibility that there could be automobile accidents. You've heard testimony or complaints from some of the residents, so we know about that part of it. But I think the liability could be there if something isn't done, if we don't do something about that on our end as well. So I'll take any questions that you might have.
Any questions, Member Woolrap?
How much longer is construction expected to go on out there?
From what I heard, and I asked that same question, this will go on all through until next year. At least at 10 months. Please, anyone else have another thought on it? Member Dickinson?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, and I would be completely supportive of continuing to follow up. I know from friends who live in Aerosmith that a decade ago, when the original Twin Groves went up, there were issues with the construction contractors during construction with different issues than this. At that time, it was crop destruction, fence destruction. Since then, on some of the more recent farms, it's my understanding that there's been improvements. So the ability to do this without causing these types of issues exists. So in my mind, that means there's a solution, there's a way to do this. So it sounds like additional follow-up and persistence will help. So I'm completely supportive of that. Thank you.
In all due respect, I want to point out that in the meetings I've had with Mr. Shawley and the meetings that Mr. Dick and Mr. Stokes has had and Mrs. Metzger, they have been very cordial and very cooperative, but the proof is in the pudding. We haven't seen the evidence that what we've recommended has been complied with.
I think
Each
Mr.
of the members.
And
Yeah, sorry, Camille, go ahead.
no worries. I was just saying, Mr. Thompson had his hand up as well prior to Mr. Beard taking the floor.
Yeah, I was just going to comment. Actually, it's more like almost 2 decades out to the energy or windmill project close to us there. Yeah, it was a bit of a challenge at the time, but I will tell you the roads and the end product is much better. What I was going to, John mentioned is probably going to go for a year. I would also say that the construction will change. A lot of the gravel will get hauled in. A lot of the materials will get hauled in. It'll be more of erecting wind turbines. There's an influx of gravel and that type of stuff in the very beginning. That's probably where we're at now, and I would anticipate, hopefully, that would slow down as we move through the project, the different phases of it. But that's all.
I don't understand part of the project where they had to pulverize some of the roads and then they have resurfaced them, but they have been mostly with packable type gravel. But there is quite a white dust that I have video I could show you. And so it's like smoke flying up more than just a dusty road, which makes it a problem right now. I've also been told, Mr. Thompson, that the end product will be a most improved road. But that's a way off right now.
Yeah, I agree. So yeah, they have to, if they don't come in and pulverize it, the trucks will pulverize it because they're not made to withstand that kind of traffic. So they come in, they pulverize them, add gravel, and so they create a good base. So again, yeah, the end result is they get a good road in the end, but it's this time in between, and slowing down would help considerably. I mean, you're not going to stop the dust. You can water it an hour later on a sunny day with a breeze, the water's going to be gone, unless you're just continually watering it. And I don't know if that's even possible, but slowing down the amount of dust generated by a truck going to 50 miles an hour as opposed to 25 is significant. And it's also a big safety help as well.
The second time I visited the site, 2900 East was much better, but I'll tell you, you can't run over 20 miles an hour without kicking up a storm on 2250. for sure. And I tried, but like, very slowly.
Member Wodzinski? Tina, go ahead.
Yeah. Yep.
You on? Member Wodzinski? Did we lose her?
Member Wodzinski, if you can hear us, it looks like your microphone is muted. There you go.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. What township road was closed down that you mentioned, Chairman?
I think I have that somewhere. I just talked to phone.
It's 2700 North Road, east of the Meadows Blacktop.
So it is
Okay.
north, very north of Lexington and west a little, isn't it? Very north of the ISU farm and then west section. No, I'm sorry. It's farther on up, isn't it? Into the Genoa Township.
Any other questions or comments? All right, I wanted to thank the Chairman McIntyre for taking the time to come and address us. I got letters and comments about it as well, and I did note that Lori Sleater said I didn't get back in touch with her, but one of the reasons I didn't was I wanted to hear from Chairman McIntyre at this meeting as to what was going on. And so I didn't want to step out in front of anybody or give any ideas that I had the answer. I wanted to hear what Chairman McIntyre had to say. And so I appreciate that he's on us and looking out for the people out there. So I don't know what else to say other than that, unless you have something else you want to add, John.
Well, you know, there's a very possible workable solution here. It is a matter of both the company just adhering to what the situation is and coming up with the solution. Hopefully, we won't have to talk about this again. Hopefully, the product that's spread on there, and Mr. Stokes says they should start that within a week from now. But that will help the situation. If it doesn't, I have a feeling I'll be coming back to you, see what direction we want to go.
Thank you. Member Metzger?
I also want to, I've been out there a number of times, same experience that Chairman McIntyre has had, and it's quite frustrating. I'm a little surprised that the guy who has a porta potty right by his mailbox isn't complaining. I was a little surprised that he hasn't made some, that's so inconsiderate that you would put a porta potty next to somebody's mailbox. But regardless, I just so much appreciate the fact that Chairman McIntyre has been out there, has seen this, and is taking this seriously for the residents that are in our rural district. This is critically important to hold those individuals who have projects, hold them to their contract. And that's what we're trying to do. And I want to commend him for that. So thank you.
You're welcome. Is that it?
Thank you. Thank you, John. All right, back on the agenda here, the next meeting date is 3:30 p.m. Thursday, June 4th, 2020. The next item on here is items of information. County Administrator Rodriguez, did you have anything you wanted to add here?
I do not, Chairman. Thank you.
Want to make sure I gave you an opportunity to.
Thank you. Thank you.
Does anybody else have anything they wish to add? All right, seeing none, we are adjourned. I'll see you before then, but for land use will be June 4th. Thank you.